3 days before my wedding, my father called me and said 9 words that shattered something inside me forever. I am not walking you down the aisle. My name is Maren Whitfield. I was in my workshop trimming roses for my own centerpieces when his call came in. I picked up with sap still on my hands. Vanessa says it would upset her, he said. My older sister, married, 2 kids, and somehow still the center of every decision our family ever made. Even this one. 10 minutes later, my mother called to finish the job. Just walk alone, she said, like she was reading off a brochure. It is empowering. I grew up watching my sister get everything. Straight A's, piano recitals, a front row seat at every celebration. I was the daughter who came home with dirt on her knees. At 14, I built a greenhouse from scrap wood and grew tomatoes the size of my fist. I won first place at the science fair. My father arrived 40 minutes late, glanced at my ribbon, said good job the way you'd say it to a stranger's kid, then checked his phone. That greenhouse stood in our yard 9 years. He never mentioned it again. When I got into college for horticulture, paid for entirely with my own landscaping money, my mother set down her coffee and said, "That is not a real career. Maren, my sister's tuition was announced proudly at Thanksgiving. Mine was never spoken of." Then I met Jonas, a structural engineer who saw me hauling a root ball out of my truck and simply said, "Need a hand." His father, Earl, a retired carpenter, started calling me kiddo within weeks. He built me a bookshelf with my initials carved inside, where only I would find them. "You've got dirt under your nails," he told me once. Good. Means you built something today. Nobody in my own family had ever said that to me. When Jonas proposed, I called my parents. "Congratulations," my father said, the same tone you'd give a coworker. "Is he from a good family?" my mother asked, like she was checking a credit score. Still, I asked my father to walk me down the aisle. He said yes. I believed him. Then came that phone call 3 days before the wedding. I asked him one question. "Did Vanessa threaten you with the kids again?" Silence, then quietly, yes. She said if he walked me, she wouldn't bring the grandkids to Christmas. He chose the trade without blinking. I hung up. I didn't cry. I finished my last centerpiece with steady hands, because I wasn't surprised anymore. I was just finally done pretending I might be. 2 days before the wedding, I drove to Earl's house. I told him what happened. He didn't say sorry. He didn't ask why. He set down his sandpaper and said 5 words. "When do you need me?" That Friday, a woman named Loretta showed up at my door holding a yellowed envelope from my grandmother, who had passed 11 years earlier. She said to hold it until you were getting married. My grandmother's letter said, "The people who show up are your real family." I placed it in my clutch bag for the wedding. The morning of my wedding, I looked at my own hands, calloused from years of pruning shears, and saw exactly who I was. Not a broken daughter, a woman with dirt under her nails and a plan. At the barn, I peeked through the curtain. My parents and my sister sat in the very back row. For 1 second, my heart whispered, maybe they came to make it right. Then I watched my mother whisper something, my father nod without lifting his eyes, and I understood. They came so they could say they came. The doors opened. Golden October light poured in. I walked down the aisle on the arm of a carpenter who wasn't my blood, but was my family. When the officiant asked who gives this woman away, Earl answered quietly, "Her family does." All of us who showed up. At the dessert table, my father found me. "That man did a good job up there," he said. "His name is Earl," I told him. "I wanted to say I'm sorry," he said. "Sorry that you missed it," I asked him. "Or sorry that everyone saw." He flinched and said nothing more. 2 weeks later, my sister called, crying. Her husband had left her. "I thought if I kept Mom and Dad focused on me, it would fill the gap," she admitted. "Your happiness was in the way." I told her I hoped she found peace, but I could no longer be her cushion while she pushed me down. A letter arrived from my father soon after. He wrote that he'd been choosing the easy path his whole life instead of the right one, that Earl had earned what he himself threw away, and that he was proud of me. He'd just always been too weak to say it. I used to think family meant blood. I don't believe that anymore. Family is the man who drives 40 minutes to fix a hinge nobody asked him to fix. Family is a letter kept for 11 years by a woman who never stopped believing in me. Family is whoever actually shows up. And on my wedding day, the man who showed up wasn't my father by blood. He was my father by choice. And that changed everything.